Hey ladies, this is going to be my submission for the Module 2, reflection assignment, reflecting on the activities that I have chosen. So I did kind of pull some stuff out over here. So let me first just tell you, this is kind of something that I've been working on in my instructional design and evaluation class, EDN 301. So it's in the College of Education, and it's a course that really looks at kind of like the mechanics of teaching school. So anyway, I know I already submitted on the discussion board the course goals as well as the course level objectives and the module level objectives. So I'm not going to touch on those right now, but I think the activities that I chose were there's a Google slide presentation that I have my students create. And the second one is a student lesson plan. So I know that should rationalize my choice. The Google slide presentation is more or less a piece of our student lesson plan. So I give them that activity first in this module. And the idea is that they're going to use the information and the content that they developed in their Google slide presentation, and that eventually they'll be able to utilize that information in their lesson plan. So there's some scaffolding going on between activity 1 and activity 2. And so the Google slide presentation is a smaller presentation, whereas the lesson plan is kind of like a much larger piece. And I chose each of those because they're pertinent to the overall course objective, which up here is to write goals, develop instructional objectives, and then use conceptual graphs and conventional outlines to then analyze and organize subject matter knowledge. So that's what my Google slide presentation does. And then construct coherent, student-centered instructional and assessment strategies appropriate for given objectives. And that's where you'll see my student lesson plan meets that specifically. So that's how they are going to meet my CLOs, or my course level objectives. And then my module level objectives I was very specific with those. I'm not sure if they need to be refined. But obviously the Google slide presentation is specifically mentioned as a student presentation in the MLO1, and then my module level objective 2, where you're developing a unique lesson plan, employing learning objectives and related student activity using a pre-designed template. That is specifically meeting my activity 2. So I've kind of thought these through. It's a course that I currently teach right now, but it's definitely a course that needs refinement. So that's why I kind of am choosing this course. This is the one course that I teach online semester after semester after semester. And then I think the last one was, and what additional planning do you need to consider to facilitate these activities to ensure learners have the optimum experience? The Google slide presentation is still relevant. I remember in one of the readings, or maybe it was one of the videos, being relevant in terms of your assignments is important. And as technology evolves, you want to make sure that your assignments evolve as well. You don't want them to get stale. And so the Google slide is part of the whole conglomerate of Google Classroom resources. So I think a lot of our students report back to us that Google Classroom is a key component, both in the public and private schools, as well as the charter schools that they're working in right now. And of course, lesson planning is lesson planning. It's just such a huge critical component. So that activity is something that also needs a lot of scaffolding. So as I facilitate this activity with my students, I've really provided them with a pre-designed template that they can utilize. And so these are students that have never written a lesson plan before. So I try to scaffold it in such a way that I give them the sections and I give them the directions on how to complete it. And so the Google slide presentation then goes into one of those sections when they resubmit that for a grade. One of the other, I think, things we had over here was so the Google slide presentation in terms of time and workload required I would consider it more of an activity that the students complete in my class, whereas I would consider the lesson plan much larger and more of an assignment. So that's the difference between those. They definitely do connect, as I explained earlier. And I always provide supporting documentation, including tutorials. And in fact, sometimes I feel like maybe I provide too many additional resources. And I think sometimes they get overwhelmed when they look at all the resources that I've added. So that's something I also need to think about. Hopefully this is it. 5 minutes. I should stop here. All right. Thanks all.